Alright then, just taking a quick look at Dogecoin on our daily time frame for another daily update on the channel. Before we begin, please do go down below and sign up to BITUNIX. They're giving you a 30% bonus if you deposit and trade on their platform. If you deposit $1,000 and trade, you'll receive a $300 bonus instantly. Really good way to get yourself some money to be trading in the markets, because they are spicy right now, and there are there's opportunities every day in terms of positions that you could take for trading. As we can see here, Dogecoin here got some nice LR above. Low resistance liquidity, I would call this, or just a trend line liquidity that you can go and target. Dogecoin right now obviously stuck under this huge daily fair value gap that's been formed by that massive liquidation cascade we saw for a ton of altcoins. As you can see here, Dogecoin obviously had that little relief rally, and then Bitcoin coming lower. We come down and sweep, if you disregard this huge wick, come down and sweep this low again, and then bouncing out of this area. Just like a lot of cryptos that I've been talking about, you can see here Dogecoin's actually formed up a really nice potential trade here that you could have taken. I think it's more likely to be on the 4 hour, to be honest. Just like Chainlink, if you look at the Chainlink video that we posted, you can see here we've got a really interesting trade. We've got accumulation, we've got the manipulation here, we get the bounce, and then we've got an actual manipulation leg to come down. People obviously are going to see this huge manipulation wick, what people are calling a scam wick, liquidating tons of people out. People start getting back into long positions, and then you can see here we've come down, and anyone with a stop loss below this level, where people are just, you know, basically regarding this as the low, they've come down and got stopped out again. But take a look at what's happened. We've come down, we've swept liquidity here, and then we've got Bitcoin looking extremely bullish at the same time. Currently, I'm in a long position for Bitcoin, as you can see, inverting this 4 hour fair value gap after bouncing out of this daily fair value gap below and breaking this trend line. Overall, I thought this was a pretty high confluence trade, and so far up around 1R on this, just holding it and seeing how far we can get to the upside. And for Dogecoin, looking in a very similar boat. If you look at what Dogecoin is doing right now, you can see we basically came down, we swept that liquidity here, and we've got these big 4 hour fair value gaps that we were previously acting as resistance here. You've got one here as well, which is the one that I was thinking is the most interesting. On the way down here, we've been rejecting out of all these fair value gaps and moving bearish. But then the second that we see Bitcoin bouncing up and closing above fair value gaps, we've also got one for Dogecoin here. You could have taken this, and this would have been a real good winner actually on Dogecoin. You can see we've got all the components here for a good reversal. We've obviously had the relief rally, we've come down, we've got that manipulation leg, we've swept liquidity again. And then you can see these previous areas of resistance, these big fair value gaps that have been holding price down all the way down on these legs. You can see obviously we're rejected out of that massive daily up here, and then we're rejecting this 4 hour here, and then we reject the 4 hour here. But instead of coming down lower again, we've come down, we've swept liquidity. The market's getting back into buy conditions. Buyers are coming back in to control the market. We've come back up here, and we actually closed back above. And then when you look in confluence with Bitcoin, which is also looking like it really wants to bounce out of this area as well, you could have taken this long position for Dogecoin. I don't know why the chart keeps on resetting to being so small. As you can see, I've just accidentally deleted everything. Hello? No, I didn't. It's just my weird ass connection is just making everything weird. So we've got everything back. There we go. So you can see here, Dogecoin right now, we close above our big 4 hour fair value gap. We've also got a really obvious trend line liquidity, just like we did with Bitcoin. You can see here we're closing above that, and we're closing above this 4 hour. We've got our manipulation leg, we've swept liquidity below. We're looking like we're potentially reversing back around, and Bitcoin looking bullish as well. All of these confluences suggest to me that we're at least going to start reversing back through this first fair value gap, and we can target up towards the next one, which is where we're currently at in terms of resistance. As you can see pretty much perfectly here, we are currently testing into this previous 4 hour fair value gap, which was above previous resistance here, which we need to see if we can break. All of that will depend on Bitcoin. But Dogecoin right now, as you can see, you could have took this trade and this would have been a really nice winner. 4 hour fair value gap, basically we're closing above that trend line liquidity and that 4 hour. You enter your position for a long here. Stop losses if we come and close back below down here. You can see a few candles are chopping around as we try and figure out if we're actually going to break here. We come down for a back test, and then big volume coming in, as you can see yesterday for Sunday. As you can see, this is the 1 p.m. candle for me. Or no, this is the 9 p.m. candle. This is the 1 p.m. candle. Big volume coming in. Another bit of little retrace, but then more volume coming in as we're continuing up. This trade currently up around almost 2R. If you'd have taken this trade, actually it would have been about 2R, I think, because your stop loss would be quite close to a close below this. So you can see we've already hit 2R on this trade for Dogecoin. A pretty obvious one, and I think in hindsight even more obvious. You can see here we've come down, swept liquidity again below this low of all these people that are piling into longs after that huge liquidation. And then with all these confluences of a potential inversion, including Bitcoin looking bullish, this was a pretty obvious trade for me that you could have taken. I'm just in the Bitcoin trade, so I didn't take this one specifically, but this one arguably, I think if I'd seen this, I probably would have taken this as well. Obviously, in my opinion, they would be about the same trade in terms of, you know, whether or not they'd fail, so I wouldn't take the same trade twice because you'd just be doubling your risk on the same trade essentially. But Dogecoin here, obviously a bit more risk to reward on your trade because you've got a smaller fair value gap and more volatility to the upside. Dogecoin here, this was an excellent trade, and currently rejecting out of this upper 4 hour here, which we're gonna have to wait and see if we'll break. But Bitcoin right now, in my opinion, looking quite bullish. We're gonna have to wait and see how it shakes out going into the open for New York today, which is in around 3 hours for me. I'm currently on GMT time here, as you can see. But overall, Dogecoin here looking pretty interesting. This was a great trade. Congratulations if you took this. This was a pretty obvious one, really just breaking through this liquidity, and now we're just going to come probably take some of these stop losses and accelerate through this area provided that Bitcoin is bullish. Dogecoin here obviously still rejecting out of this big daily, and in terms of the macro, what's going to happen next is pretty unclear at this point. We're going to have to wait and see what Bitcoin leads us to over the next few weeks, if we're going to go back to all-time highs or if we're going to start chopping around in this area. It's pretty much unknown at this point, but Bitcoin showing all the signs that it wants to bounce. It's breaking through some 4 hour, this 4 hour fair value gap here and this one here, and right now Bitcoin, if it closes above this daily fair value gap, I'd say we at least come back up to retest into this up here. So interesting times ahead. Dogecoin right now, as always, just consolidating, waiting for Bitcoin to decide what's happening, and we'll have to wait and see what happens next. As always, guys, thanks a lot for watching. Please do like and subscribe, leave a comment down below, let me know your thoughts, check back every day for daily updates, and get some free money in the description below. Cheers.